The last thing I wanted to ask you, Tolu, we've got a viewer question on this topic that we've been talking about a lot over the past few minutes here. Rosalind Metzger from Pennsylvania asks us, why aren't we hearing more from Biden and Harris regarding the student protests? Now, this question was submitted before we heard from President Biden today, who we talked about, has weighed in at length. But real quick, Tolu, what are your sort of thoughts on kind of this, how Biden and Harris have navigated this? Is this a fair question to ask? Have they been relatively muted until now about the protests themselves?
Yeah, I think this question is one of the reasons President Biden spoke out today, in part because people had been asking, where is the president, as we're seeing all of these campuses erupt into violence and chaos. And so he did feel compelled to address this in a more full-throated way. It was something that would have to happen, in part because everyone else is talking about it. Republicans are talking about it. You know, college students and parts of the Democratic base are talking about it and asking where the president stands. And so he had been a bit muted going into this week. But as we've seen, you know, violent clashes between police and protesters, violent clashes between pro-Israel protesters and pro-Palestinian protesters, we've really seen violence erupt across the country in ways that force the president to speak out in a more direct way. And I think we are likely to hear more from him in the weeks ahead because this is something that you can't ignore. This is not something that's going to go away on its own. This is a major liability for him, and I expect him to be much more direct as we go forward in addressing this and talking about it, because it is going to continue to be a challenge for him unless he is seen as sort of taking the helm and being a direct, in charge kind of president as the country grapples with these very thorny political issues.